radio show.
Hey guys, this is Parvin Dabas, and we are at the MMA India show, and we are going to interview Gurdarshan Gary Saint Blind Mangat today, and we're just gonna buzz him up, and we're going live from Insta Stories only right now, and everywhere else we're gonna be recording this and coming out with it later because we have footage from one championship, and they've been very kind to allow us to use it. So we are going to be putting that footage together, and by the time you see this, it'll be coming out with that footage. He had a great win over Abro Fernandes of Indonesia, and let's hit Gary up and have a chat with him. Gary, we've spoken to, of course, quite a few times. Hey, buddy, how's it going?
Not bad, man. How you doing?
All good, all good. So we are live from Insta Stories, and everywhere else we're recording it. So in case you want to share it on your Insta Stories, you can go ahead and do that. We've tagged you.
I think I just...
You did? Yeah, there you go. First of all, congrats on the win over Fernandes.
Thank you.
And you know, it was a tough fight. These guys at one, there are no easy fights at one championship.
There isn't, man. He had a lot of heart. Trust me, I've hit people with head kicks like that and sparred training.
Yeah.
And they don't stick standing, and this guy just took it and kept coming forward, and he had a hard head, man. I would have been better off if I went to his body a bit more. I didn't realize his head could be that hard. It could absorb that much. He had a lot of heart, and I give him that.
Yeah. Now before we come to the fight, I don't think we've spoken since you've signed up with ONE.
Yeah, might have been that long.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he's after my last fight, but
so the last time we spoke, I think, was when you were down for SFL. So we haven't spoken since you signed up with ONE. Now you're on a fight win streak, of course. Tell us the conditions, or let's say, you know, what made you sign up with ONE championship, and how is it over there? Of course, you were looking forward, or I don't know if we should say waiting for the UFC, but ONE championship is emerging as one of the biggest promotions around the world, and everybody's talking about it as a great home. So let's just know about, you must have spoken to your family, your coaches, everybody about the decision of going with ONE. So just tell us a little about the circumstances surrounding joining ONE.
For myself, when I first started MMA, the ultimate dream was the UFC. But at that time, the MMA landscape has changed so much. The entire landscape has changed. UFC was the top of the top. I don't believe UFC is the only one at the top anymore. I believe that places like ONE Championship, if you look at their viewership, if you look at the people that are watching, if you look at the demographic, I think in the next few years they're going to take over. In Asia, I've just realized just how big it is. The thing is, when I'm in North America, I don't realize how big it is, other than their TNT TV deal and stuff. But now when I went over there, I went for the Japan event as a fan. I was there in Yangon for my fight. I was there for my fight for this one that just happened last week. And man, it's just, I didn't believe I could walk out to an arena of 15,000 people and be sold out, and I've done it twice now. And I've been in an arena with 15,000 people. And just knowing that it streams so far, Star Sports India picks it up, people all over the world are tuning in. So for myself, signing with ONE was almost a blessing in disguise. I didn't realize how much this truly fit me until, just now doing a couple fights, seeing how everything works. I've been backstage for UFCs. I've been backstage with the fighters. I got a lot of teammates that are in the UFC, and I just see the difference, man. I see how different the staff is with ONE. I see how different they treat us. I see how the fans treat us differently. I see how we're taken care of differently. And for myself, and I know a lot of other fighters that are in the big promotions such as the UFC, and they see it when they come over there. They want to come over there also. And I almost feel like I came over to ONE at the perfect time, because I came over there right before Demetrius signed, then Eddie Alvarez signed, then Sage signed, then all those big acquisitions, and Misha K came. Then Misha K was named as the VP, and now all these big announcements with the TV deals, with the India deal, with all this push forward. I came in at the perfect time, and I was just telling my wife this the other day. I am more than happy to really make my career go to the next level and even finish my career at one. I'm that happy with them right now. And with Chaudhry and Victor and all those people, I truly feel like this is everything. I wear their gear all day. I'm proud of it. I'm honored by it.
Yeah.
I've never felt this way about a promotion before. I've never felt this excited about it in my career. In my career, I've never felt this excited. And I truly believe it because of the way One Championship is, the way the fans are, the way everything is. And it's just exciting to be part of it at this point.
Great. Now, I'm just going to go back to something you said about the fans treating you differently also. Before that, I just want to make a point, like you're saying, One Championship, and I was reading an interview of Mr. Chaudhry's yesterday where he was talking about that that One Championship actually has much more viewership per event now than the UFC. The UFC is just monetizing it much better. Whereas the One is right now going for the model where they're trying to add more eyeballs right now before they start to monetize it in a much better way and add revenue in a much better way. Not that they're not making money, they are making a lot of money. But of course their valuation is not the same as the UFC yet. You know, the UFC is worth, in Mr. Chaudhry's words, about $6-7 billion, and One Championship is worth around $1 billion. But having said that, they are looking at their revenue models in a different way because One has a lot more eyeballs and is spreading further across the globe pretty fast, you know, and they have some pretty big plans. So I agree with you when you say you've arrived there at the right time because, you know, let's see how things go, but they do seem poised for a very big takeover. And now I just want to get to, you know, I can understand how you would feel that the staff treats you differently because Asians are much more respectful people. Now, how is it that, you know, the fans, how do you feel the fans are treating you differently?
The fans are just, you can tell, like, I'm just going to take, like, you know, how, like, say a fighter loses here in North America. It's almost, they turn on them so quick. It's almost like we are not seen as humans when we're fighting. We are seen as piece of meat because it's almost kind of marketed that way. Where in One, we are marketed as inspiration, as heroes, as motivators. And obviously we're supposed to win the fight, but there is ways to still motivate people without winning the fight. Obviously the goal is always to win the fight, but it's like the organization I haven't seen turn on fighters that have lost fights.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple fighters that are good examples of that. They're not coming to mind right now, but we went to the retreat after the Japan card, and 3 of the fighters were coming off losses that came to the retreat, and one was still doing videos with them, was still doing promo material with them. I know they were still investing in them. They were ready to make something of their story because it's a comeback story now, right? So, and the way the fans are also, they show up at the hotels. They want signatures. They kind of like, they treat you as heroes. They treat you as inspirations. They treat you as like you have. They're honored to meet you and stuff like that. And it's crazy, man. Like you know, I'm just a normal guy, and it motivates you. It motivates you what you can become and what you can stand for and what image you can have and how you can change so many things by being a professional fighter that I didn't feel like you could change because I never saw it over here. When I go to Asia, it's different, man. It's just a different vibe when you come out with the fans when it get you. Just the way they introduce us to the crowd when they do the big ceremony. It's just wild, man. Like I truly like those opening ceremonies. They give me chills every single time. The fireworks that bring us out, and you see the flight behind you, and you see them bring you out, and just the fans going nuts and the fireworks. It's amazing. It's like I forget that I'm fighting that night every single time.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm there for.
Yeah, I have to say the production value of One is amazing. You know, second to none. Now, having said that, don't you think? But that is the difference in culture between the Western culture and you know, the Eastern culture, where in the West it's winner takes all. You know, mm-hmm. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but that is kind of how, you know, the culture is. Whereas in the East, even the guy who loses still gets respect. I'll give you a little example in a kind of a microcosm. You know, I go to Thailand a lot, and I love, of course, watching the Muay Thai fights. In some of the local places, after the fights, the fighters go to the people sitting there in these restaurants, in these pubs, you know, for I don't know if you should call them donations or what you should call them, but you know, for money. And even the person who's not won the fight, let's say that, still goes around and still gets, you know, money. So it's probably not as much as the guy who won, but he's still, like you said, respected. You know, because both of these people have given everything in the fight. Of course, only one person can win, but I think that's a good example of, you know, the respect that both fighters get after a fight. You know, and not just before the fight.
I think a big part of it is the cultural aspect of having mixed martial arts in the culture. So the Asian culture has martial arts in their culture, which is associated to having a samurai mindset, to being respectful, to being humble, to having a strong mindset. So they kind of got an idea of how hard and how strong of a will you need to be in the positions that you're in, and I think they give respect to that for a man who put his pride and his life on the line getting in there. And there's still that respect aspect, other than the result that comes from it, whether it's a win or a loss. They still appreciate that aspect. Where I think in the Western world, we kind of forget that part. We would just want to see the man get busted up and knocked out, but we forget there's a human being in there with a family, with repercussions, with damaging effects. So where I feel like they still respect that part.
Now, coming down to your fight with Fernandes, who's, you know, like, you know, I saw the fight, who's a really, really tough guy, Indonesian. If I would put it simply, you know, the way I saw the fight is in the beginning, of course, you were trying to you were throwing some combinations. He started, and you were going forward, he was countering, he started to time you a bit. You know, and then you came back, I think in the second half of the second round with a little bit of a different plan, where you started becoming a little more unpredictable, started feints more, you know, even more combinations. So he wasn't able to predict or time you as much, and that started paying off a lot more. You know, where you increased your output as well, and you were on top of the fight and controlling the fight for most you know. For the whole fight, more or less. And the only time you guys went to the ground briefly was in the first round, where you both kind of rolled out of it. But it was more or less a stand-up match, you know, fight throughout. And you know, you controlled it really, really well. I thought, you know, the way you changed up, you know, and started feinting more and started more combinations, kept hitting him to the head. I thought it was really, really good, and it showed a huge progression in your fighting mindset as well, where you adapted midway to a guy who wasn't easy. You know, it could, anytime, we've seen this a lot of times, and your chin was really strong as well, because he got you now and then, even in the last round when you tried that tornado kick, you know, when you did almost, you know, that tornado kick where he almost got you, you know, and he was hitting, you could see his hands were like clubs, you know, he was, you know.
I was surprised at how hard his punches were.
Yeah.
The tornado kick, he didn't catch me at all.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people think I got there.
Yeah.
He completely missed that part, but there was a moment, I think it was in the first minute or first 2 minutes of the third.
Yeah.
He did catch me, and the thing is, I'm always humble enough to admit those things. I don't really hide them.
Yeah.
He had a lot of power, and that's why I say the guy wouldn't go down. And I knew he would have a strong chin because I watched his last fight, and the other guy was hitting him even cleaner shots than I was.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing for me for this fight was I did have to readjust plans, and I had to, and I think this is the level that I'm at now, where I have to go back to my corner and I have to be able to adjust on the fly. We don't really come into these fights with game plans. We come in there ready to adjust, ready to kind of improvise, ready to go, but we train all aspects. For me, I came into this fight with a lot of injuries. That's one of the biggest issues. And fighting in a ring was different for me. I haven't fought in a ring in 11 years. And I think that played a little bit of a factor for me. Because I was watching so much boxing footage, Ali footage, Mike Tyson footage on the day of the fight. I was sitting
I
in the
have to
hotel.
say, some of your footwork reminded me. You did the Ali shuffle a couple of times, didn't you?
And that's because I was just watching him nonstop. Lomachenko, I was just watching boxers just moving around in the ring. How do southpaw boxers move around? Manny Pacquiao and stuff like that. So I was kind of so I think those kind of instincts took me into the ring where I forgot. I wouldn't say I forgot it was a MMA match, but my brain was kind of turned on to move and dance and look good, look slick, and just see how we can make this happen. Because I did have that injury where I'm like, if I take it to the ground, something could go wrong, and I didn't want something to tear. And so, it's weird how instincts take over once you're in there.
Yeah.
As much as you can imagine things, game plan things, and I worked with a mental coach once again. I worked with this guy 2 fights in a row now. Joshua Manuel from Fight Mindset. This guy is got to be one of my biggest additions outside of the coaches that I work with day to day inside the gym. Just the mental side of it, just being able to take injuries and stuff and use them as strength, kind of brainwash myself to believe that these things are supposed to happen. These things are a source of strength. These things are a source of a test almost for you to kind of have to overcome. My first fight I had to overcome food poisoning. I was in the hospital and I came and fought 6 hours later. This time around I had another injury, and it was just, he teaches my mind to get over anxiety and stuff like that, and just to perform on that night, and just to perform proper and perform under the lights and visualize these situations that I go into. And he's a huge aspect. We go through this stuff, and I put in a lot of work with him outside of the gym. I do my work in the gym, and then I also put a lot of work in with him over FaceTime and stuff. We work a lot. And just on the fight week, we did 3 sessions just because I just wanted to keep doing it. And because I believe in his method so much. I believe in so much of the work. And you don't know how it's all going to come together until you get in the ring. And then all of a sudden you're like, holy crap, like this is exactly what we worked on. And then that feel before I walk out, it feels different. And that's why I say this is the first time in my career I'm enjoying myself. You were even there for the Brave fight. And yeah. I feel, if I compared the 2 ways that I felt walking out for that fight, I walk out, and these guys are much tougher than I think Abdul Manir was. And I felt much more nervous, much more anxious, much more anxiety. I wasn't, on the day of the fight, I don't want the day to come. I don't enjoy it. I get really anxious. I don't I don't embrace it. Now I'm excited. I walk forward. I stick my chest out. I'm ready to go. I know I've done everything. I believe in it. There's like a lion spirit that he works on with my mindset and stuff like that. And I'm like, on that day, I'm ready to go. And right before my music comes on is when I feel the most different. Usually at that time, I want time to stand still, and I don't want basically the fight to come. Now I'm like, let's go. Let me hear my music. Let's go. It's time to go. Time for a lion to come out. Let's go. And that's a big part of it is the mental work I put in with them. And that's been the biggest difference in my performance. That's why you see me more looser. That's why you see me flow better. That's why you see me look better and more volume and stuff, because I don't have that tenseness that makes you kind of lose your cardio in fights like that. If you compare it to the Abdul Manir fight, I threw like probably a quarter of the punches that I threw in these fights now. It's just different. It just feels different. I get excited to go back in there. Before I'm like, don't talk to me about another fight once that fight's over.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, let's go. What's next? How do we get up this ladder?
Yeah.
And it's just different, man. I'm enjoying it. I'm older now, but I think all that experience is now coming into play for me.
Now, since we're on the topic of training, you're training, I heard, from out of Las Vegas now?
Yeah, I'm at, I still train with my team here in Vancouver and Langley at Revolution. But when I start my camps, when I do like my actual 7 to 8 week camps, I leave to Las Vegas. I do it Extreme Couture and 10th Planet Las Vegas. The biggest aspect is just so I can get my focus. I isolate myself away from everybody, family, wife, everybody, all the stuff I take care of in Vancouver. And Russell Peters actually allowed me to stay at his house, and he has a house out in Vegas.
Oh, nice.
There's nobody in the house. Yeah, so he reached out to me, and he was like, listen, man, I know how fighters need to focus, because he knows so many fighters one-on-one. He's like really good friends with Mike Tyson, so he understands the focus. He's like, I know how fighters need to be isolated and alone, and he's like, I got a home there. I want you to focus. I want you to take advantage of this opportunity. And I couldn't thank that guy enough, and that was enough for me to say, listen, I'm going to be doing camps in Las Vegas now. And then just the training partners I have there, right? The top level Like, everybody from One Championship, Ryzen, UFC, everybody's in Vegas because the UFC PI and all those facilities are close by too. So there's a lot of things that are close by that bring a lot of top talent to Vegas. And just the environment, the desert, the heat, the coaching, the amount of work you got to put in. You never feel like you've done enough every single day, even if you know that your competition in no way is doing it. Then I moved my camp the last week, always to Tiger Muay Thai in Phuket. And it's the second time I've done this. Just to get acclimated, I go over there because most of my fights are either going to be somewhere in Asia. They're usually 2-hour flight. And just training out there in Tiger Muay Thai, just the humidity, the hotness, the sparring out there, rolling out there, training with the top level guys out there. And that's what makes me, once I go into an air-conditioned arena from training in all these humid and hot desert environment, that's why my cardio skyrockets, because I put myself in crazy environments where I can't breathe, where I'm choking on air all day long, and all of a sudden on the fight day is when I finally get comfortable. Nice. So you got to put all these situations. People always like your endurance, your cardio is amazing, but they don't understand how much work I put into this. Like, I used to have asthma. I probably still do. It's just I push my mind and my cardio so far that, it's just I pushed to such a level now that it's the one thing I work on the most, because there's nothing worse than fatiguing in a fight, because fatigue makes cowards of us all. And for me, I can train everything, but if I go in there fatigued, I've been there. I've been in those situations, and there's nothing worse than fatiguing in a fight.
Now, that was pretty obvious in the fight that your cardio was on point. There was no, not even a second where one thought that, you were getting tired or anything, and or that you were trying to be efficient with your energy because you didn't need to be, because you had so much in the gas tank. Now, coming back to ONE FC, do you have a fight in mind for your next fight?
I don't have a fight in mind right now. I haven't spoken to Chatri or Victor or anything yet. I know they're busy with August 2nd card right now. I believe there'll be one more for me at the end of this year. Right now, I just kind of chill out with family. I've been home, like this year, I've been home for 6 weeks of the last 7 months because I've done 2 back-to-back fights, 2 to 3 camps, and I've not been home at all. And now I kind of owe some time with my wife and my family, and I just want to kind of hang out. But I'm going to be all ears. I'm always open to it. I know they'll talk to me probably in the next couple of weeks, and we'll see what's coming up. I'm sure there'll be something before the end of the year. I feel like I'll do something for the end of the year. I just want to take care of some injuries and stuff, and then
Now, sooner or later, I'm guessing the title fight would have to be, if you, let's say you go through another 1 or 2 fights, and the title fight is on the horizon. That would, as of now, seem to be like it would be against Demetrius Johnson.
But Demetrius isn't the champion yet, so Adrian Morales is still the champion. DJ hasn't won the title yet. He's still in the Grand Prix. No people are expecting DJ to win, but he hasn't won yet.
Okay.
So he's still in the ground. He still has to get to 2 more guys or 1 more guy, and then get to that. Right now it's Adrian Morales, right? So that fight would have to happen first. For me, I feel like the stars will align. I visualize it with my mind, coach, all the time that I will fight for the title in India. I will be the title fight. I will be the one to bring one championship to India. Who knows, maybe Worley Stadium. I've already fought there. I think we can sell it out. And I'll fight for the title there, and I'll win the title there. And it will be one of the greatest Indian sports history moments around, and it will break barriers like you can't imagine, and you can't doubt us anymore. You can't doubt Indian MMA anymore once that moment happens. That is the biggest win it all. And I didn't even think I'd be at this point or even be in this conversation 3-4 years ago, because I was finished with this sport. I was burnt out from it. And now I'm just so fired up about it. And I think the mindset is the biggest thing. If you're excited about it, you're willing to put work for it, and by putting in work for it, the results will come. And I think I finally found the formulas that I needed: the coaches, the right places, the mindset, the people my close circle that's around me, that's all working, and the pattern that I need everybody to work in. And it's just about putting in the work and getting the results now. And
Great. Now, have you been, you must have still been following the UFC fights.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think of the whole situation there, the way the landscape is changing with guys like Jorge Masvidal coming up out of nowhere? Of course,
Right.
a lot of it is marketing and setting up fights, but it still shows in the fight game, it doesn't matter, how they marketed you and who they put you up against. If you bring something to the table and come ready, you can make a name for yourself anywhere and against anybody.
Yeah.
Now,
Um,
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so how do I feel about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing about the fight game. Once that cage door closes, all the marketing, everything goes out the window, right? And now, like Jorge Masvidal's he's a veteran. Like, he's been around a long time, and now he's getting the attention. I've watched this guy, oh man, since probably the first day I started MMA. This guy was already up in the scene. It's just, it really comes down to what you do in the cage, right? It really comes down to what you do in the ring, and your momentum can pick up. I'm 32 now. I've been doing this since I was 22. And people think I just showed up on the scene 2 years ago or a year ago. Like people that are noticing me now. They don't know the dues I paid, the things that I've done. I came into this with no background as an accountant. I learned the game from the ground up. And now I'm having these conversations with you of being in one championship, one of the biggest promotions, and possibly becoming a champion in it, and doing it in India and creating one of the biggest historic moments. These are conversations that I feel like I'm just going to wake up one day and realize I made it up all in my head. And so it's all in your mind, man. It's all about what you can make happen, and just, you got to seize the moments that come and just got to make the most of them. And that's just what I'm trying to do right now.
Now, just coming back to, we were talking about the way ONE FC markets the fighters and the way UFC does. I've seen, especially, on our social media and a lot of other social media, people, the fans, even around the world, tend to talk about one championship more as one championship, right? Fights, and not particularly about particular fights. They like the whole, they're excited about fighting and they like to see all of the, the fights. Whereas in UFC, because of the way the fighters are talking to each other and the animosity, they get fired up about very particular fights. Like, let's say the Jorge, Ben Askren, and even like a Colby, Robbie Lawler coming up. You have these personalities where you either love them, hate them, and that brings a lot more to the particular fights. Do you have a liking for either style, or do you think that's the promotion's way of how they promote fights?
Yeah, I think it's a promotion's way of doing it. Like, for myself.
Now let me just rephrase that a little, because it's not just the promotion which is doing it. It is the fans as well picking it up, and the way they talk about the fights then.
Yeah, I think a big part of the fan base in one championship is they attach themselves to countries. They attach themselves to, so you got the Filipino fans always up with Team Lakay and all those guys. You got the Indian fans are gonna go, I think, and then they hear the stories where the UFC, you kind of like, say you're a Ben Askren fan, but you're from nowhere close to Ben Askren's place, but you just like his storyline, you like the trash talk, you like that whole punchlines he has and stuff like that. So Conor McGregor's a good example of that. Like, you don't gotta be from Ireland and stuff like that. You attach onto the story, not even the storyline, kind of the trash talk and how they're selling the fight, the character himself. Where one, I like the aspect of them telling a story of that. I'm like a lot of the stuff that's come out about me probably would have never came out if I was in the UFC. A lot of the stuff I've dealt with the anxiety, with the depression, like stories like this, stuff that I felt was necessary to be told by in the right place. And I feel like ONE Championship's a place to tell it, where they actually tell the story of how, the proper background of somebody. I don't have to trash talk that. I think that's one of my favorite things right now. I thought I always had to, the Abro Fernandes fight. I could trash talk, I had to sell it, I could do that. That's what we had to do. That was out of my character, but it was something that I knew I had to rise to. Now I get to just be myself. I get to be this. I get to tell my story how it is, how I fight with my heart, what I came from, what I'll have to fight back from, and ONE just They love that. They love that I'm willing to open up about it. I don't have to talk crap about my opponent. I never said one bad thing about Abro Fernandes. I never said one bad thing in any single interview. And I don't remember him saying anything bad about me. When we met, we shook hands. When we said, there was a respect. There was a respect even in the change room. He was having like a meal before the fight, and I was going to the washroom, and I went and sat next to him, and we just joked. I'm like, "You're gonna give me some of that?" Like, you don't get that kind of. It's like, let's go out there, let's demonstrate, let's put on a good fight. You don't get that kind of comfort. I'm not gonna say comfort, but like, that kind of respect before you walk up against a guy that is gonna be coming for your head. And that's just the difference in environment than being in an environment in a different hostile place and stuff like that. For me, that's the thing about one. I just love the whole warrior aspect of it all. We're going there to represent our own visions of the countries we represent, and that's what it's all about. And the people that are watching, that's what they want to see. All the messages, again, nobody talked about how you don't talk trash. All I've gotten messages about was, you inspired me. I want to start this. You inspired me to be proud of being Indian. You inspired me to make my kids see you as a role model and stuff like that. I didn't talk one bit of trash. I want to display myself, told my story, and that's the most beautiful thing about One Championship. I'm able to just do that and write this crazy story down as I go.
But do you think in India it's going to be a little different than the rest of Asia, because we do like a lot more drama over here? Like you said, with the fight with Abdul, you did have to talk it up a lot more, and we did the whole thing with you and Abdul. Now again, another recent fight which happened, which probably was one of after your fight, the most hype fight in recent time was Shrikant Shaker versus Jason Solomon. Now again that there was a lot of talk, and therefore people were very interested in the fight. Again, we got them both on the show together against each other. Now, do you think it's a little different in India, and it is a little closer to the the thing of trash talking, where of that whole कि तुझे दिखा दूंगा सारे देख लूंगा तुझे, that kind of drama? Do you think that works a little more over here than the rest of Asia?
I thought it did, but I don't think it needs to, because if you just know my story, there's millions of males, maybe even females, that relate to it. People that were told to follow a conventional path to become lawyers, doctors, or accountants, that had dreams in their heart, that had dreams to believe in something else, but were told, listen, it's a risk, it's not worth taking, you have a life that you need to build, and that's it.
Say hi to Chandni. She's behind me. Hi.
Okay. So for me, which is what they ran with, this is what they've told India, and the amount of Indian fans that have come from worldwide since I've signed with one and they've gotten my story out, there's not one of them that asked for drama. There's not one. It's been like, wow, you're just a normal guy. You're just like all of us. I have a dream. How do I talk to my parents? And I haven't had to say nothing. I understand that after those fights that we had to, but now I've seen a different way. I've seen how one does it, and I'm able to just tell my story. Because for myself, when I started this from day one, when nobody knew about it, it was to motivate and inspire the underdog to believe in themselves. It was never about going out and talking trash to any opponent in front of me and selling fights. It was about telling the story about this guy at 22 who just decided to just chase his dream. And now I got the perfect platform that's explaining it. And I think if they just tell that to India and the networks, I think they'll tune in. I don't need to talk trash on my opponent or anything. They'll tune in. If they tell my opponent's story, they tell my story, they'll relate to it. I'm not somebody that was put in sports from day one. I'm not somebody that was given scholarships to sports. I wasn't somebody. I'm a very relatable person to the common man. And I think that's where my story stands out with a lot of Indians out there, with not even Indians, with a lot of people just in general. I started this when I was 22, and that's it. And I gave up full scholarships, accounting degree. I gave up a safe job in an office, and this is what I do day in and day out now. I'm in a violent sport where I get to represent my warrior side of myself by representing my people. And I think just that alone, being told, will get people to tune in and show up to the fights.
Great. Now, before we sign off, do you mind if I ask you a personal question?
Of course.
Especially since we had Chandni come into the frame. If I was a Punjabi auntie and you had come to Delhi or the Pind, the first question would be कि बेटे 2 साल हो गए शादी को, अभी बच्चे कब होंगे?
Yeah. We got just asked this like 48 hours ago.
Exactly. So there you go. So what did you answer?
Our answer was, we're just living our life right now.
Okay.
We're living our dream. So, we're living what we have to do. There's a lot of things that we're accomplishing right now, and we're just not on the schedule of most conventional couples, I guess. I wouldn't say we got married late, but I think my parents want me married by 22. I got married when I was 30. Now they expected kids within the first 2 weeks of us getting married.
That's Indian parents for you.
Yeah, exactly. So luckily I have an amazing wife that is we're both same mindsets. We both want to, she is probably the one person who has kept me going. I was going to give up on this many years ago, and she knows I hit some really rock bottom times in my life where I was ready to just move on from this, and I knew there was a way out with a different kind of job, with a safer job, and she's the one who's people need to hear your story. The Indian people you need to go out and inspire them, and she kept me going. And now it's just weird because the moments that she talked about are the moments that are happening now, especially through me walking out, feeling that crowd and feeling all those people's eyes. She starts crying when she watches this stuff because she's like, I told you this day would come. We used to drive around in a car and it was cold winters, and she's like, one day these moments are gonna happen. And I used to argue with her. I'm like, these moments are not gonna happen. Stop believing in them. I'm done with it. I'm giving up on this sport. I'm not doing this anymore. I don't like it. She's like, no, you can't give up. And this was 4 or 5 years ago, and I went through a really tough three and a half years where I was just completely done with it. And she kept me going, and now this is where we're at now, and a big thanks to her and all that. And now just with the kids and everything, we're just, of course, one day, but I think I'm just hitting this crazy stride right now with one. For some people, it comes when they're in their early 20s. Some people, when it comes in their late 20s. I'm in my early 30s, and I feel better, younger, faster, quicker, more experienced now than I did in my 20s. And I think all that experience has now come together. I understand my body better. I understand my mind better. I understand the sacrifice I got to make. And I think you're going to see the best version of myself, and the version that needed to be present to represent Indian MMA and take it to the top stages, and for people to say, the comments I see is this is a world-class Indian. This is a world-class fighter that's representing us. That's so cool to see. That they're like before, I used to see comments like, Indians can't fight, all they do is eat this, all they do is they're fat. I used to see all these derogatory comments all the time about us fighting, of us being in any kind of sports, and now I'm seeing a different side of it. Wow, this is world class. Look at them fight. Look at the warrior, and it's amazing to see. We're turning the dialogue around, and it's really cool to see.
Great. Well, thanks so much for joining us again, brother. And we always support you, and we'll follow you, and we'll make sure that the fans follow you, especially now that we have one championship on Star Sports and Hotstar. They can watch it live and anytime on Hotstar.
Yeah, doing the Star Sports thing was awesome, because as bad as it was that it didn't work out for the ICC, the Cricket World Cup, it seemed like pressure got put towards me as an individual in a sport to represent India, which was on that same beat. And the way that Star Sports was marketing me during that time, I was just like, this is crazy, because I've been watching Star Sports here on our satellite network. It's going to be on it. Yeah. And my uncle didn't even know I was fighting that day until he was flipping through the channels, and there I was on Star Sports. And so it's awesome, man. It's amazing how much has opened up to the sport and what it's becoming and what it will continue to become.
Absolutely, the biggest sports platform in the country, and congrats on everything you have achieved so far, and all the best for the next fight. We will be following you and hope to speak to you soon before or after your next fight, according to where you are in the world. I know you're usually busy before a fight. You got fight camp, you're focused, so so whenever you have time, we will speak to you next. Thanks, and all the very best. Give our love to Chandni, and all the very best, buddy.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Take care. Cheers. That was Gary Mangat, and I have 3 cameras, so I don't know where to look, but thank you all for joining us and speaking to Gurdarshan Mangat, one of the best Indian fighters out there, and we wish him all the very, very best for his next fight. He's on a 5-fight win streak right now, 2-fight win streak in one championship itself. Hello to all the viewers watching on Insta Stories, on MMA India show. Keep following us and follow us on Facebook and Twitter as well, MMA India at MMA India show. And thanks for tuning in. And we will see you soon, and you can watch the whole fight again pretty soon on Facebook, YouTube, with the fight footage from one championship. They have been kind enough to give it to us. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in and tuning in today. Thank you. This is Parvin Dabas signing off from the MMA India show. Cheers. Good day.